How you guys doing? Man, I got a great mailbag coming up today. I'm glad to be back doing it. It's going to be released every Saturday morning around 10 o'clock, 10:30. We got a big fight coming up this weekend between Xander and Boots. A couple of questions touch that, but it's going to be great, man. It's going to be great. I'm glad to be back doing the mailbag, and it's going to come out on a regular basis, man. So, you guys make sure you write in to the Breadman25@hotmail.com. I'm gonna say it again at the end of the video, and let's get this rolling. My first question is from Omar Diaz. He asked me if I was managing Xander, would I have taken the fight, and if I was his trainer, what game plan would I have? I'm not gonna answer if I was managing Xander, would I have taken the fight, because I believe Peter Khan is one of the best managers in boxing, and how he sees the fight is how he sees the fight. And if he wins, he's gonna look like a genius. So even though I'm picking Boots, I'm not willing to answer that question, because I could be wrong about my pick of the fight. If I was Xander's trainer, I can't answer that. I will box Boots. Xander has boxed at the top level. I will move. I will try to minimize the violence. I would try to minimize the exchanges. I wouldn't engage much, and I would try to steal a decision. We'll see how the fight goes. The second question is from Richard Matthews, and he asked me, when Roy Jones got KO'd by Tarver, why do I think he fought so long afterwards? And I don't know Roy personally, although I admire him from afar. I'm just gonna guess that just pride. When you lose a fight and you're the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, even though Roy was 35, I think your pride doesn't want to allow you to go out that way. And if you remember, Roy lost back-to-back fights to Glenn Johnson and Tarver, and I just think that that's just a lot for somebody as great as he is to handle. And the pride kicked in, and it forced him to fight longer than he probably should have, unfortunately. The next question is Richard Matthews asked me, this is part of his questions. He said, who do I like between Bam and Inoue? I'm a big Bam fan. I think that I love his style because he can box, but he chooses to box violently. I think that he's one of the best fighters in the world, but I think that Inoue is being undervalued in this fight and historically. Inoue kind of jumps in and out with his head up in the air, and it makes it look like he's gonna get clipped, and he's not as neat as some of our other pound-for-pound greats. But Inoue might be the best fighter in history from 122 on down. And I think it's gonna be a very tough assignment for Bam to beat a guy that's bigger, stronger, and faster and more explosive than he is, and can box on equal terms. Inoue's jab is one of the best jabs in boxing. Unfortunately, I like Inoue in that fight. I think Southpaws lead with the liver, and Inoue has one of the best left hooks to the liver I've ever seen. And I could be wrong, but I give a slight edge to Inoue in the fight. The next part of his question was Usyk and Atama. I'm gonna go against the grain with this one, and not just because Usyk struggled this last fight, but I think that in every day of my life, I'd rather be 21 than 39. I think, unless I'm looking at my bank account, I think that Atama's reaction time, his jab, his ability to get off, I can't prove it. I believe that he is the goods, and my guts tell me it's not about being better, but sometimes the timing of the fight favors one fighter or the other. And I like Atama, believe it or not, to beat Usyk. I think it could be one of those Jermaine Taylor, Bernard Hopkins kind of things where Hopkins might be the better fighter, but Taylor caught him at the right time. And regardless of who you thought won those fights, Taylor was very, very competitive for 24 rounds with Hopkins. It was hard to distinguish, who won those fights. So I like Atama, believe it or not. I think he gets off a little too fast. He's a little bit too sharp, a little too young. He mixes it up to the head and the body. He has a great jab. He's always trying to change levels on you. And a lot of the advantages that Usyk has against orthodox fighters, where he can pivot to the outside of their shoulder, that won't be an advantage against another southpaw. So I like Atama in the fight. the last part of your question, Richard Matthews, you asked, what if Crawford came back to fight Boots? Who would be the favorite and who would I pick? I can't really answer that until we see how Boots looks against Zayas, but I want to respect Crawford. And Crawford said he's not coming back. He said that, he's not going to do it. Somebody in an interview tried to tell him he would do it for a certain amount of money, and Crawford kind of checked him and was like, no, I wouldn't. I'm not going to do that. So let's respect him, let's honor him, and let's just see what he does. And if he does come back, more power to him. But the man said he's not coming back. So let's just respect his stance. He seems to be enjoying, being an active dad and having fun with his kids. You see him online, he's going to the fights. Let him live his life, man. He did a lot in his career, and that's just that. Until he says he's coming back, let's leave it alone. Katlolo Wahili, I think he's from South Africa. He sent me an email upset with Shakur Stevenson because Shakur Stevenson said that Floyd Mayweather would beat Sugar Ray Robinson. I don't want to get into who I will pick between Sugar Ray Robinson and Floyd Mayweather because it's hard to contextualize errors. Errors is hard. They say Sugar Ray Robinson didn't hold his hands up, but in the 1940s, fighters weren't fighting like this. You know what I mean? Because you had on 6-ounce horsehair gloves that the thumbs weren't attached, where you could ball your fist up all the way and punch right through the gloves. So they parried a lot of punches and they wanted to see what was coming at them. And on top of that, they had their hands chest level and they wanted to point their hands towards a guy. Sugar Ray Robinson was 128-1 at the prime of his career, and the only fight he lost was to an all-time great middleweight, and Jake LaMotta, where LaMotta was over 160 pounds and Robinson was about 145 pounds. I think Sugar Ray Robinson and Muhammad Ali walk on water to me. And if it wasn't for Sugar Ray Robinson, there would be no Muhammad Ali. If it wasn't for Muhammad Ali, there would be no Sugar Ray Leonard. If it wasn't for Sugar Ray Leonard, there would be no Floyd Mayweather and Roy Jones. And if it wasn't for them, it would be no Terrence Crawford. So we got to be respectful to the great Sugar Ray Robinson, because even though he's fighting in grainy black and white film, we never even got to see him in his prime at an extended time on video. The videos that they show of him, he's already got 130 something fights, man. There's no real footage of him in the 40s, although I have seen some. There's some footage of him, but from everything that I've seen, I think the young people should watch his fights with Gene Stock and Luke Van Damme, and watch his finish of the great Randy Turpin. I don't like to compare fighters to Ali and Sugar Ray Robinson. They did too much for boxing, and you got to contextualize it in styles. How would Sugar Ray Robinson look today if he gets to fight twice a year, weigh in, and then fight the next day, pick his opponents, all of the modern recovery, all the years of being able to study the other great fighters and add stuff to your game? He was the prototype. We never seen a boxer puncher that looked like him before. We just got to just leave him alone. Anything that he could do, there's guys that can box as good as him. There's guys that can punch as good as him. There's guys who had chins as good as him. There's guys who could fight go forward and backward as good as him. But nobody had the total mix of what he had. He's probably the most durable fighter ever, man. 202 fights. He was only stopped one time in a 6-ounce horsehair era. That's unreal. And that was because of heat exhaustion against a Hall of Fame light heavyweight who he was winning. He was 157 pounds. Joey Maxim was like 172 pounds. We need to leave that alone. I respect Shakur for riding with his era, but I just wish that Shakur wouldn't be so disrespectful to the great fighters. I did hear him call Sugar Ray Robinson trash before on a, I think it was Cigar Talk with Najee, if I'm not mistaken. And I did see a video where he said something about Ali, and Roy Jones got up and walked away. And I love Shakur's game, and I respect the fact that he, he's loyal to his era, and he thinks Floyd is better than Sugar Ray Robinson. I don't have a problem with that. But I do think he should be more respectful to the great Sugar Ray Robinson and not call him trash and say mean things about him like that. I just wish that, we could all be more respectful when we analyzing the greats from the past, because we got to contextualize it. We got to look at how they would look if they fought now, or whether these guys would want to deal with what they dealt with back then. It's just a different game. So That's all I got to say about that. I got too much respect for Sugar Ray Robinson and Ali and those kind of guys. It's like me saying that Eddie Futch or Manuel Stewart is trash. Like, Manuel Stewart's trash because Tommy Hearns got stopped by Ray Leonard. I could never say anything like that. If it wasn't for Emmanuel Stewart, there could be no Stephen Edwards. So that's all I'm gonna say about that, though. But respectfully, Floyd is one of the greats, and Floyd can hang with anybody from 130 to 147. But in my opinion, Sugar Ray Robinson is the best fighter to ever live. The last question is from Chris Swanson, and Chris had he had like a 3 or 4 part question. He asked me, do I believe Shakur Stevenson? He said that he believes Shakur Stevenson should stop calling out fighters from different weight classes and focus on 140 and 147. No, I don't agree with that. I think Shakur Stevenson can make 135, and he's the champion at 135. And if he wants to fight at 135, then so be it. O'Shaquie Foster fights at 130. They seem to have a feud. They can meet at 135. So I think that Shakur Stevenson has a lot of options, and he could go up and down the weight because he's the champion of 2 different divisions. So I think he can do what he wants and gets the best fight for him. The second part of his question is, Dimitri Bivol is a small light heavyweight, and he seems to never lose a round, rarely lose rounds. Have I seen a smallish light heavyweight like Bivol before that's so hard to get around from? That's a very good question. I don't remember anybody in recent times as hard to get around from as Bivol is. But Peter Bev got about half of the rounds from him in 2 fights. And I don't know how small Bivol is. It's not like he moved up from middleweight or moved up from super middleweight. So he started out his career at 175. I don't think he's a huge light heavyweight, but I think he has a good size to him. You know what I mean? Just because he's not like bulking over and walking around at 230 pounds, it doesn't mean he's so small. So I'm not sure if he's that small or if he's just like an average size for this era. Who do I want to see Tyson Fury fight before he takes on Anthony Joshua? Nobody. I think that a tune-up fight for Tyson Fury is very dangerous. He almost got stopped by Francis Ngannou, and we don't need that again. I think he should go right to Anthony Joshua. It's not like Joshua's been active. He lost to, Joshua lost to the Bulls a couple years ago, and the only fight he's had since then was against Jake Paul. So I think Fury should go right to the fight. The last question is, when will we see Gervonta Davis in the ring again? I don't know, but he seems to be training with Jose Benavidez Sr. And they seem to have chemistry, and it seems like that's his new trainer. And I don't believe he's training for no reason. So if it's June now, big months for fights, it's like September-ish, October-ish, like right when you get into the fall. So, my instincts tell me that probably will be his next date. So I think we need to stay tuned, but I definitely think he'll fight again this year. Again, that'll be it for this mailbag, but you guys write in to the Breadman25@hotmail.com. It's gonna come up on the graphics on the screen, and let's get this thing rolling again, man. I really appreciate you guys.